Hello you all, and welcome back to Pay Down Debt Solutions. On this channel, we teach you how to be in control of your financial future. We teach you guys how to get out of debt, and we teach you how to do that much faster than in the traditional banking system. So today, what I want to talk to you guys about is correct money movement will quickly have you debt free. So using that checking account, you think that that's going to help you manage your money, right? It's going to help you manage your finances. You're going to pay your loans. You're going to pay your lines. You're going to run your finances out of your checking account. We don't do that when we Velocity Bank. And so what we're going to teach you today is how to move your money differently. So what are you going to learn? Today you're going to learn why we use lines of credit and not checking accounts as our main bank tool. You're going to learn how to move your money to work down debt. Very important, how to move it to work down your debt properly. And we are going to show you why we work towards personal lines of credit or home equity lines of credit. So you're going to see in my example today how to run debt-free finances with a credit card and how to run debt-free finances with a line of credit, such as a personal line of credit or a home equity line of credit. Credit cards are also lines of credit. However, there's a couple things about them that make them a little bit different so that we can't put all of our income in, and you're about to learn that today. So being in debt and getting out of debt comes down to moving your money, okay? So whether you're positive or negative, it doesn't necessarily matter if you move your money in a way that creates cash flow for you. And my example that I did the other day, we took somebody who was very negative and we were able to flip that on its head and create a positive cash flow for them so that they could get out of, a really tough situation. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about money movement and why that matters and how you free up cash flow doing it. You're going to learn how to do this, and you're going to learn how it's going to get you out of debt faster, okay? Now, the question that some of you have is, you guys know that we created a course, we created an app for you. And the question has been, why create the course and not just, put the app out there? Because you guys, you have to understand, okay? If you learn how to move your money instead of us telling you how to do that, because we can do a coaching call with you, a one-on-one coaching call, we can build you a plan, and that's great. And you can implement that plan and you will be successful. But when you learn how Velocity Banking works and you learn every step of the way and why it works, you will have a tool for your future, okay? So you'll be able to do this no matter what. You won't need us to build a plan for you. Plus, you'll have that app that comes with the course so that you know how to control things going forward. So learning, you guys, paying down that ignorance tax, learning how to do this is the best step you can take. And then you can go on and teach somebody else, right? You can teach somebody else how to do it. So it's really important, and that's why we did the course with it. So let's get into our example today, and let's show you how you can move your money differently so that you can get yourself out of debt faster. All right, so typical of most of you right now when you're running your finances, you're going to be using a checking account, right? So I've broken this down into A, B, and C, okay? And so we're going to go over here why we use lines of credit. Now, right now, you have a direct deposit or a paycheck or something that comes in. You have income that comes in, and you're going to put it in that checking account. And from your checking account, you are then going to pay your car, your credit card bill, groceries. You're going to pay maybe a loan. You're going to pay your mortgage or your rent. You're going to pay a credit card bill, another one maybe, and then you're going to handle your utilities all out of your checking account. That's pretty normal. That's what everybody does, okay? That's what everybody does because that's what everybody is taught. Then we have example 2, where we can use a credit card and a checking account combined, okay? So why would we do that? Well, we would do that because when you work with credit cards and you're going to put all of your income in, okay, just like here, you're going to split your income between your credit card and your checking account. Here, it all goes to your checking account. Here, it's going to go to a credit card and a checking account, all right? And the reason is, when we work with credit cards as lines of credit, we can't use all of our available income, okay? I'm sorry, we can't use all of our income. We have to use what's called available income because there are certain things you cannot pay with a credit card. You can't pay other credit cards with a credit card. You can't pay loans with a credit card, but you can pay utilities like phone bill. You can pay groceries. You can pay for your gas. You can pay for every other expense that comes up out of that checking or out of that credit card. So what you have to do then is you have to split those non-chargeable expenses and put them in and hold them into your checking account. And we leave all of our expenses that we can pay through a credit card, our chargeable expenses, sorry, the word escaped me, chargeable expenses through that credit card, okay? So we're gonna split it. So in my example here, using these exact same items, right, that we're paying for, we've got our groceries and our utilities we're paying with this credit card. Inside of this credit card, we've taken a loan and a credit card and we've moved this loan into the credit card. We've moved this credit card onto the credit card. So now we're using our second credit card as our debt destroyer in this example. And then we have to hold out the things we still cannot pay through that checking account, through that credit card into our checking account. So what can't I pay through my credit card? Well, I can't pay my mortgage or my rent, and I can't pay for my car, right? So those two things I have to hold out. Now, if I had other credit cards that I couldn't fit inside of this credit card, right, envelop it, then I would have to also hold that out, okay? So we have A, you're doing it through your checking account. We have B, you're going to be running a strategy using your credit card and you're going to have to hold some money out into your checking account. And then C, we are going to use my favorite, which is a home equity line of credit or a personal line of credit. So what does that look like? Well, it's a little different. We have our income. Our entire income is going to go into this personal line of credit or home equity line of credit. And then we are going to pay everything through our personal line of credit. We're going to pay for our credit card. We're going to pay for our groceries. We're going to pay our loan bill. We're going to pay our credit cards, utilities, and we're also going to pay our mortgage and our car. Now, the mortgage and the car are left outside of this debt destroyer here because they couldn't fit, okay? So anything you can't fit, it's going to be left outside of that line of credit, but you still pay for it with that line of credit, okay? And why is that? Why? Well, because of this reason. Lines of credit, such as a personal line of credit or a home equity line of credit, are usually attached to your checking account or can be attached to a checking account, or you can get a checking account to go along with it, which means you then pay all of your expenses out of your checking account if you want to, and then you're replenishing that with your line of credit. So basically, you're hooking up your line of credit as an overdraft account. So when you charge that debit card per se, and whatever comes out of that checking account is going to be funded from that line of credit. So your checking account hooked up to that line of credit, you're charging out of this, you're debiting out of this checking account, and it's pulling from that line to cover, okay, those expenses. So basically, your checking account then becomes sort of like a pass-through account, right? So it's just the vehicle that takes the home equity line of credit funds, moves it into the checking, and then you're paying for your expenses with that debit card. The other way you could do it is you could charge every chargeable expense on a credit card, build up those points, and then you make your monthly payment out of that home equity line of credit to that credit card and pay it off in its entirety, okay? That's another way you can do it. So there's all these options and all these possibilities with your lines of credit here because all of your income goes into it and you're running every expense out, which means knowing that lines of credit, such as credit cards, home equity lines of credit, personal lines of credit, are figured on that average daily balance. So that means when you put your income in, you are dropping that balance immediately. So you're paying less interest over time. And then all of the things that were enveloped by your debt destroyer, okay, those payments come back to you and work down your balances inside of that debt tool. So you don't see it as cash, right? But it becomes cash flow that is working down your balance. So I'm going to show you an example of exactly what I mean. I put together a hypothetical for you, but they are real student numbers. Okay, so they are real numbers and that we're working with, but the scenario itself is going to be run as a hypothetical so I could prove my point to you today. All right, so, and I put up here, we're going to run it two ways. We're going to run it with a credit card as our debt destroyer, and we're going to run it with our debt destroyer being a PLOC. Sorry, this was 10%, not 8%. I'm sorry, 8,000, not 10,000. Yeah, I'll just write it up here. Okay, so a 10K PLOC, and it's going to be run at a 12%, okay? Now, so in this example, we have an income of $4,200. We have total expenses of $4,080. Pretty typical of what we see, you guys. We see people all the time with either negative cash flow, even cash flow, or just a smidge of cash flow, okay? Cash flow is 120, All right, we've got a mortgage here. Our mortgage is for $1,172. We have a car loan. It's at $4,000. It's at $463, which means the combined total of these two is $1,635. So we have a Capital One card. Its limit is $2,500. We're at $2,160. The payment on that is $67 a month. It is at a 25% interest rate. It would take 4 years and 7 months to pay this off in its entirety, and it'll cost $1,477 of interest. Then we have a Citizens card here, and that balance is $8,200. I'm sorry, not the balance, the limit is $8,200. Again, real number. And it is at a 5310, so it's at $5,310 is the balance that is currently on that card, which means the payment right now is $155. It is at a 23% interest rate. To term this out and pay this off in the traditional banking system, it would take them 4 years and 9 months to do so. It would cost them $3,422 in interest, okay? Now, they also have a Best Ag loan out there. It is $2,500, and these people got this Best Ag loan just before they learned of us. So it literally was a brand new loan, okay? So it will cost them $63. It is at a 9.5% interest rate. It will take them 4 years. The term on that was 4 years. So it will cost them $515 in interest. So that means for this example here, and these students, they have $9,970, okay? So $9,970 is what their balances are that they will owe, okay, or that they do owe. And $285 is the debt payments, okay, the combined debt payments. So they have a total of $5,414 in interest that they will owe over, over 4 years and 9 months. This one ends in 4 years, right? So a total of almost 5 years, right? So they're going to owe $5,414 in interest. So what can we do to change that situation and make it less? How can we get them out of this faster? Well, this is how we can do it, all right? We're going to first I'm going to first run an example for you using credit cards. Now, if we take the Citizens card as our debt destroyer, knowing that we have an $8,200 limit, and we combine the 5310 and the 2160, all right? That's the first step we're going to do, is we're going to combine these, and then we're going to run those. So that means we have to leave our Best Ag loan out of it, and it has to be left in our checking account, right? Just like these have to be left in our checking account so that we can pay those on the side. Everything else we're going to run through that debt destroyer, the Citizens card. So in this case, our available income, so we take our $4,200, our income, we're going to subtract off the things we can't charge, the non-chargeables, right? And we're going to subtract off the Best Ag because those have to be held in our checking account. So they're not available income to us. So we subtract those off and we end up with an available income of $2,502. Likewise, we have chargeable expenses and non-chargeable expenses. Well, we know non-chargeable expense, and we know that all of these are technically non-chargeable expenses. So we have to account for them. So we take our expenses, our total expenses, we subtract off our mortgage and our car, we subtract off our Capital One, our Citizens, and we subtract off our Best Ag loan. So we subtract off all of those, which means we are going to be working with chargeable expenses of $2,160. Now, why do I not have the 67 and the 155 in here? Well, because when we put those into that debt destroyer, okay, the Citizens cards, our debt destroyer, that means that our entire income goes into that credit card, satisfying any payment that would be due. Well, we know that currently at 5310, 155 is what we would owe, right? But if we add it together, it's going to be more than that, right? When we take and add the 155 and the 67, because we're adding these together, our payment would be more. But we don't know it because we're putting our entire income into that card, which satisfies the payment, meaning, like I said here, it's going to, the cash flow that I've relieved for myself is going to work that card down. So let me show you, I'm going to clear my board and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so I'm back with some numbers for you. And I want to apologize. I didn't have my mic on. I had it laying on the counter. So the first part of this video is going to be a little bit soft. So I apologize for that, but I have it on now. So we're going to carry on. Okay, so remember, our debt destroyer is going to be that Citizens card, right? Citizens is our debt destroyer. So we need to take the 5310 plus the 2160. We're going to add those together, and then our best egg is going to run outside of all of this, all right? Which means we have to start off with an available income of 2502 and our chargeable expenses of 2160. Now, when you move balances from one card to another, there's usually a balance transfer fee of some sort, okay? And so usually I always take 4% because I see 4% is pretty much the average. So I'm taking 4%. So that is what I have done here. So we have 5310 plus our 2160, and we have to multiply, the 2160 by 4%, which gives us $86. So now we're taking our 7470 and we're adding the $86 to it, okay, for that balance transfer, which means we're starting with $75.56 as our starting balance. Now, we put our available income in because this is a credit card scenario. Available income goes in. 2502, it drops us immediately to $5,054. So we go in a second from 7556 to 5054. So that means our interest is going to be much lower, right? And we're going to continue to do this month over month as we run this balance. So let's calculate our interest so you guys know. Again, the app does this all for you in our course, so you don't have to mess with any of this, all right? So the app does it for you. It gives you the ability to pick your debt destroyer, and it shows you the path you need to go on to make this much easier, all right? So the 5556, so we take 7556. We're going to add it to high balance plus our low balance plus the 5054 equals 12,610. And then I divide that by 2 to get my average, 6305. Then I'm going to multiply that by 0.23, which is my interest rate, which for a year is $14.50. Then I divide that by 12 because we only want 1 month. And that's where we get the 120 from. Okay, so that's the interest. So when you do this on your own, if you don't have the app and the course and everything to do it, you're just going to run the math this way. Again, all you need is the channel. That's all you need. All right. So 5054, you put in your chargeable expenses, right? Your chargeable expenses, you put them in, and you put in the interest that you calculated at 120. So you're at 7334. Again, you're going to do it all over again, right? With the 2502 drops you to the 4832. And then you have your 4832. I just carried it up here, guys. So 4832 plus your chargeable expenses plus the interest that you calculated leaves us at 7108 in month 2. Now, what happens is we're going to run this way for 9 months. Then at 9 months, we are at a point in time, I just picked 9 months for you, where we can pull in our best egg, remember? Because if our limit is 8,200, we couldn't do it off the bat. So we had to work our balance down some. Remember, I'm talking about working balances down. So we worked our balances down for 9 months. We're at 5401. The interest that we have spent on our debt destroyer was $923 of interest, right? Our best egg balance at 9 months is $2,100, and the interest we've paid on it in that time frame is $166. This is important because we have to add that to our end total, okay? So now I'm taking my 5401 plus my 2100 plus my 84 for the balance transfer, right? Because we're still doing the balance transfer, which puts me at 7585. Now, I've given myself a raise. So I no longer have 2502. I can add in that $63, right? I think it was 63. Yeah, the $63. And it puts me at 2565. And I'm going to do this all over again. Okay, so I'm doing it all over. So what does it look like then at the end of the day for the credit card as a debt destroyer? All right, so let's take a look. Here is what it looks like. So we have, and I've got, magnets all over the place. Sorry, guys. Let me just put these away. So we have now, okay, it took us 16 months, all right, plus 9 months. Okay, so the 9 months was here. It takes us 16 months to run this second part down. Okay, so it takes us 16 months to run down, plus the 9 months from before, which means we're now at 25 months. And if you add up all of the interest, all right, so the 16 months, it cost us $1,209 in interest on our debt destroyer, Citizens, plus $923 from our debt destroyer, Citizens, over 9 months, plus the $166 from Best Egg over 9 months. So now we're at $2,298 in interest that we've spent in 25 months versus 4.9 years, right? 4.9 years. And so this is what we've spent. It took us 25 months, so a smidge over 2 years versus almost 5 years. And it would have cost us $5,414. So look at that. You've saved half, okay? Maybe even you've actually probably a little more, but you've saved half. Now, we're always working towards lines of credit. And that's what my note was on the board before I erased it, was that we're always working towards lines of credit. So you guys want to improve your credit enough, and it will happen naturally through Velocity Banking. No joke, it's going to happen. You are going to get yourself to a point where you can do that line of credit. That line of credit then will help you because of this reason, right? Look, when you put in, okay, so we're taking our entire debts here, the $99.70, we're putting it into a personal line of credit, and I put it at $10,000 so I could show you what it's all together. Now, if you can't get one that high, you're going to run it just like you would the debt destroyer as a credit card, except your debt destroyer is going to be that home equity line of credit, or I'm sorry, that personal line of credit probably, because the home equity you should get more. So you're going to run it just like this, but through that PLOC instead, okay? So we're taking all of the balance, we're putting in all of our income. It drops us to 5,770 immediately, meaning we save a lot of money. It's at 12% interest rate. Those personal lines of credit are less interest than credit cards. So you're saving on interest right off the bat, okay? So that means our expenses are $37.95. Well, how in the world am I getting that? I am taking the 40/80. I'm subtracting off, I'm taking 40/80, sorry. I'm subtracting off these, right? The 67, the 155, and the 63 because I put them inside that line of credit. So they're gone. They don't exist anymore, all right? I still have expenses. I'm still running my expenses through. So I'm at $37.95 for my expenses, and my interest is only $78 because it's at 28%, okay, for 1 month, $78. So that means I'm at $9,643, all right? So that's in my first month. That is what my balance comes back up to. So my checks are, I started at $9,970. I put my income in, it drops my balance. I put my expenses come out, my interest comes out. We're back into the line of credit. So I'm at $96.43. I'm going in the right direction. I'm moving in the right direction. So I know this is going to work. So what does this do for me? If I have the ability to use a line of credit instead, that means it's going to take 17 months to be interest-free. It's going to cost $863 of interest. That's it. And it's only going to take 17 months to get to that point. This is why we do things differently. This is why it is important where you put your money. Very important. That's why we teach this. That's why we do this. You guys can learn everything you need to know from this channel right here. If you want to accelerate your learning, you can pick up our course. It's in the description below this video. You can go to our website. You can click on the link from the description, copy it and paste it in your URL, or you can learn from the channel. It's up to you. We also do that one-on-one coaching, but I'd rather you guys learn in and out how to do this. You guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you in the next video.